Water affected by a sewer main break in Hampton is bigger than initially thought. The break forced raw sewage to leak into a tributary of the Black River. The leak has been fixed, but health officials are warning people not to eat shellfish they caught in a nearly 3,000-acre area around the site of the leak. 13 News Now reporter Megan Shin learned more about the concern. She's live near the site of the spill. Megan?
David, the Hampton Road Sanitation District closed down and replaced that leaking pipe down the road from us, but still a good 720,000 gallons of sewage went into the Back River like you're seeing behind us, and that's why they expanded the shellfish harvesting closure. A sewage leak in Hampton on West Minister Drive is stopping shellfish harvesting. On Wednesday, workers for Hampton Road Sanitation District replaced the broken pipe. The company spokeswoman says operations crews determined the leak to be the result of a forced main failure.
In the broad scope of things, I think the incident was contained pretty quickly.
Still, Virginia's health department shellfish specialist says eating oysters or clams from the Back River could make you sick.
Potentially be looking at contracting hepatitis A or norovirus, gastrointestinal illnesses.
As of Thursday, the entire Back River and tributaries were closed off from shellfish business.
It's definitely an inconvenience.
Over the phone, the owner of Bill Forrest Seafood told me 2 employees couldn't work because of the shellfish restrictions.
I'm looking at the side of the waterman that's catching oysters.
The Pocosin-based seafood company used to fish the Back River.
It'll force me to buy oysters elsewhere and probably have to pay more money for them, and it won't be the quality or the flavor that we're trying to get.
Now experts say all fishing crews and the community can do is watch what they eat and wait for Mother Nature to clean the water and shellfish.
When something like this happens, it just takes time.
Dickerson and others say they plan to come back out here to test the water as early as next Thursday, and their goal is to have the backwater rivers back open as they were before no later than June 8th. For more details on the closures, though, go to our website 13newsnow.com. Reporting live in Hampton, I'm Megan Shin, 13 News Now.